Welcome back to MU Reactions. Today we got Tree here, and we got me, myself, Green, and we here to check out the best Raw wrestler from every year. Ooh, the best Raw wrestler, just on Raw.
We back with Wrestling with Andy.
Wrestling with Andy.
We was doing his compilations, but shit, we went away from it again because I think Quay watched like one of them with us.
Yeah, like one, I think.
Or one, we did like one or two.
Yeah, but Quay Young, his opinions is different. He's younger, of course, so you know he didn't get to see. He got to see a decent amount, but not our era.
He was in the bad part of wrestling. Like that's when it was a slump. That's when he pre-recorded.
When he
like,
really was paying attention. Yeah,
it was like pre-recorded and shit. And that's when it was like the bad era of wrestling.
Yeah, that could have been a golden era. Pre-recorded means you could have cleaned up a lot, which I don't understand why it didn't work. Because think about it, if it's pre-recorded, I can clean up if it don't look good here, maybe switch, because they got different angles in the wrestling match, I can switch it here. Oh, this didn't look good, but if I switch to this camera, it look better, I'm thinking, oh, it's finna eat low-key, you know what I'm saying? It's finna be cold. Nah.
That was a down era for
That's
wrestling.
why I'm like, how the fuck did y'all fumble that? What y'all going on? And that was under Vince's watch. That definitely was under Vince's watch. I heard people say, no, when Vince lost control, that's when the rails fall off. The rails was falling off with Vince in charge. Let's be real about it. He was getting older. Was he in the 70s now? He was still acting like this was the 80s and the 90s where he could just do what he wanted to do and nobody was going to say nothing. People was exposing people for...
Vince got a special way of looking at shit. Yes. If you a big, muscly guy, he was going to push you to the moon. He didn't want the
Yes movement to happen. He wouldn't have gave Kobe his shot just because they were smaller wrestlers.
And plus, if it ain't coming from him, he don't like it, to be honest. That's what it seemed like. Things came organically out of the bullshit he gave them, and he didn't really like it.
That was his saying. You gotta learn to eat ish and take it. Learn to eat ish and like it. What? If people are coming with you with great ideas, you're like, I don't think that's going to work. He took away the curb stomp because I literally just watched this video, Seth Rollins, he's like, somebody got in his ear and was like, well, kids can do it at home. He's like, kids can do everything at home. What are you talking about?
I was definitely doing wrestling moves at home.
Everybody does that. The pedigree.
I DDT'd my nephew, and that nigga said, my neck, and I thought it was over with for me. I thought I broke his shit. Yeah, he was there. He laid down and was done, nigga. I thought it was GG's for me. Yes. I said, damn, I'm finna go to jail, because that's around the time when that boy
killed
his sister. Yeah. Ooh, I was like, oh, it's up for me.
We gotta send a rock to arrest him. I remember that. But anyway, man, let's get into it and see what this is talking about, man. Hopefully it's accurate.
Ever since its inception in the early 90s, Monday Night Raw has been one of the most important institutions in WWE, right up there alongside things like WrestleMania, in fact. So, as you would expect then, pretty much any notable performer for the company has spent a good deal of time working there over the years. But who was the best performer of each year? Well, that's exactly what we are going to be looking at right now, starting with 1993's top Raw star, Bret Hart. Now, back when Raw began in January of 1993, WWE was a very different place, as this was about the time that the promotion was transitioning from the golden era into the new generation era. And so it made all the sense in the world then that the top guy on Monday nights would be the guy who was leading the charge into that new era, Bret Hart. Yes, if you look back at some of those early Raws now, it's usually the Hitman who stands out the most, as he either defends his WWF title against any and all comers, or just has a banger of a non-title match.
Facts.
Would the same thing be able to be said for 1994 once that year came around, though? Why, yes, it would, because as far as we're concerned, the excellence of execution is the only real choice to be the top Raw act of that year, too, given his body of work here. What made Bret continue to be the best?
People still complain about
my nigga Luke.
Yeah.
Said his name wrong. I definitely Owen Hart.
Owen Hart.
Owen Hart.
I was gonna say yeah, right. People. I was gonna say but man, people still mad at Bret Hart because people like, I don't understand why he don't just shut up. Yeah, if it's his story, he can tell his story. If you was being an a-hole and he saw it, he was bringing it up. Sorry, you shouldn't have been an a-hole. It happens all the time, bro. People mad at people. I don't understand why you just... should I eat it that you was being a monster out here? Should I just let people think you a great guy? That happens. People have been quiet for years, and these monsters still be out here. I'm just saying.
That is true.
Like, Goldberg ended this man's career. I would hate Goldberg forever. I ain't even gonna hold you.
Facts, I would.
Goldberg ended his career. People have said before he even wrestled Goldberg was a dangerous wrestler because he really didn't. He was just spear, jackhammer, it.
He couldn't go long.
Yeah, couldn't go long because he was trash at wrestling. We don't keep it a bean.
He was an attraction.
Yeah, he was an attraction, which is cool. But
that was definitely one of my favorite WCW wrestlers.
Of course,
his matches was.
When we was kids, it was Goldberg. It was the music, his entrance was crazy. The music, he killing people 10 seconds or less. The first time somebody survived the spear and the jackhammer. Oh, yeah, he still won, but yeah, WCW knew what they was doing. But when they tried to have him do longer matches, he was hurting people because he didn't know what he was doing.
Monday nights had to offer in 1994. Well, after regaining the WWF title at WrestleMania 10, he'd go back to defending it against anyone who wanted a shot at it. And this led to some pretty cool TV defenses over the course of the year.
Recently.
And then, of course,
she done got better.
Yes.
But, nigga, we not gonna act like she wasn't putting niggas on the shelf.
She hurt maybe like 2 people.
She hurt more than 2 people.
She hurt like 2 people.
She hurt more than... It was more than 2 people.
You can't name them. Don't, shut up.
Okay.
Show ass up, nigga.
You see, I'm
shut up.
Let me put my drink down.
You shut up. Shut your mouth.
First, there was his feud with Owen Hart during this period, which pretty much dominated WWF TV and gave the company one of the best angles it had ever had. Thank God the Hitman was here to do that then, because WWF in 1994 was otherwise struggling to maintain its past relevance. And things would only get worse in that respect by the time 1995 came around. So that was why it would be Diesel who would be tasked with turning things around here as the new top actor of the show. How would Diesel do in this role?
I'll show him how to do it.
While he wouldn't be able to turn business around, Kevin Nash would be the #1 guy on Monday Night Raw regardless. And that was because during a year when the company was drowning in a sea of bad wrestlers with jobs gimmicks, he'd be the one who was carrying the WWF title around his waist and trying to give some legitimacy back to the proceedings, something he did by, like with Bret Hart before him, defending against all comers. Come 1996, however, the Diesel experiment would be well and truly over, as it became clear he just wasn't going to be able to get the wheels back on track for the WWF. And that's why things would move over to someone else at this point, the one, the only, Shawn Michaels. That's right, back in 1996, Raw was very much the Shawn Michaels show.
I will say,
after winning the WWF title for the first time at WrestleMania 12, he'd be elevated to that level of
95 was definitely, for sure, it was Kevin Nash. That's
we saying best or
he had the best year. He was the best wrestler that year.
I mean, I know what you're saying. But I'm like, I'm thinking in my head like Shawn was more popular then, but I believe he was more popular
because that's when they were a team, like they were together and
no, but
Kevin Nash was slightly better. Had the slightly better year that year.
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, but you said better wrestler. I'm like, yeah, he probably did. He was putting on. He was. I'm not saying
he was the better wrestler, but he was.
Yeah.
He had the better year.
He had the better year because he had the belt and he was all comers. He was wrestling a lot of people. But I thought in my head, I was like, no, Shawn was popping at that time. Shawn was popping at that time too. But I'm like, if WWE push you and Diesel can wrestle, he just them quads, boy.
And then 96, I think
they finally trusted Shawn to put the belt on him.
Yeah, he had the IC title, but he
was doing work with the IC title though.
So I give
the company. And this was pretty fitting as it happened because back then there was a real argument to be made that HBK was the best wrestler in the world. Really, the only person in WWF who could compete with him here was Bret Hart, and he spent much of the year away filming his TV show Lonesome Dove. But again, even Shawn Michaels wasn't enough to turn business around for Vince McMahon. No, the person who would do that wouldn't rise to prominence until 1997, as that was the year where, for the first time, the best Raw wrestler was Stone Cold Steve Austin. Come on now, there was really no other choice for this entry because at a point where WWF had never come closer to going out of business, it was Steve Austin who turned things around. And the way he did this was by getting over like no one had before him with his anti-authority character, which perfectly caught on to the zeitgeist of the time. Seriously, were it not for Austin's rise here, Raw would have almost certainly been taken off the air by the time 1998 was starting, as the USA Network had at one point already made the decision to cancel it. Thankfully then, it wasn't canceled. No, instead, the flagship of the WWF would continue to go from strength to strength that year too, as ratings improve. And the person at the top of the mountain as it was doing this would once again be the mighty Stone Cold Steve Austin. Yes, as WWF's second boom period really got going, the Rattlesnake would remain the centerpiece of Monday nights, as now with the WWF title around his waist, he fully felt like the guy. So every week, the show would pretty much revolve around him and his antics as he did everything he could to get the better of Vince McMahon. Really, it's impossible to separate Austin from Raw's success this year, so choosing anyone else for this spot would just be silly, as Monday nights were all about Stone Cold if you were a teenager watching the show, or any other demographic for that matter. And the same thing could be said about 1999 too, as it happened. A year where the boom period continued to get stronger, and Steve Austin once more stood at the top of the mountain as Raw's #1 star. Of course, as 1999 got into full swing, it became clear that WWF was going to be the winner of the Monday Night Wars, as they were starting to leave Nitro in the dust every week. But then they almost hit a bump in the road when, during the autumn, Steve Austin was taken down by injury, putting him on the shelf for the foreseeable future. Thankfully then, he had such a strong year prior to that as he once more spent most of it going to war with Vince McMahon, the Rattlesnake was able to set up Raw well enough that it wouldn't miss a beat in his absence. Really, the only question was who would take over his mantle in 2000. And the answer to that would be, as we would all soon find out, none other than the next heir apparent to the company, the only man who could challenge Steve Austin for the spot of top guy here, The Rock.
Dwayne "The Rock"
That's right, 2000 was the year that The Rock fully ascended to the level of the biggest name on Monday Night Raw. As with Stone Cold now gone for a while, it was left to the Great One to pick up the mantle and carry it forward. And boy would he do this, because spending much of the year either being WWF champion or doing everything he could to win that belt back, Dwayne Johnson would be the centerpiece of Monday nights each and every week.
He definitely was.
He was the cool guy. Steve Austin was the, the everyman, like you said, the everyman guy, F authority, the guy you want to beat up your boss, you want to beat up your boss and all that good stuff. The Rock was just Mr. Cool. I'm cool, I'm smooth, I'm finna make fun of you, and then I whoop you if it come to that. That's he's funny. So all that stuff rolled into one. It was like, oh yeah.
Him being able to go on the mic carried him a long way.
No, we don't keep it a bean. The mic skills, and him and that. And he said he's like, I cut people off. He said that he started doing that. I cut people off, say something funny. Now you stuck.
Promos back then used to be fire. Now they be making you script the shit. It just don't feel right. Back
then, it was just simple. A rightly put "shut up, bitch" would get you a long way. So you wait for that right moment, sneak that in there. Shut up, bitch. Crowd go boom, explode. Back then, the crowd would explode off that boy.
I wish they would let people go off script more now. Like,
they don't trust people.
That'd be the best ones. Cause look at Charlotte and Tiffany Stratton. That shit went off the rails, but they made her ass Tiffany apologize to Charlotte. That's that dumb shit I be hating. Like,
I thought we could say anything.
If you look at Talk Smack, that wasn't scripted.
Yeah.
Promos and
they
shit.
Still talk about
Daniel Bryan and the Miz shit. That shit was fine. Like, it'd be some shit. That pipe bomb from CM Punk was not scripted.
The Miz and Big E.
Yeah,
they got into it a little bit, not too crazy, but they got into a little bit over the Kofi.
But if you look at the promos back in the day, they was letting them go off shit, and the feuds was a lot better then too.
Yeah,
because it felt real.
Miz to say he's like, you make me money, I really don't care, which is. When you think about it, insane to say to somebody, because if I go out there and say something crazy and make money, you like.
The feuds felt every feud from the mid card to the main eventers, nigga. That shit felt real.
I think that's why the Miz and John Cena work so well, because neither of them are great wrestlers. Keep it a band, they good, but we're not gonna. You know, wrestling wise, they weren't great, but they had automatic. They said they didn't really like each other like that. So when they talked crazy about each other, it felt real.
Yeah.
And they put a little more stank on it because I don't like you.
That's why I like CM Punk. His shit feels real regardless of who he's.
He don't like a lot of. Back then, I'll say. Now he said I'm a lot more friendly and I'm a lot more understanding now. Back then, he didn't like a lot of people. He's like, I don't like Triple H. I don't like Vince. I'm like, damn, bro.
Yeah, so a lot of theirs, like a lot of his scene, it feels authentic.
Facts.
It's a lot of people that can do it now, but they just don't be letting them.
Nah.
Would he still be in this position by the time 2001 came around, though?
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, he wouldn't. And the reason for that is because 2001 would be the year that Steve Austin returned to the top of the pile as far as Raw was concerned when he came back from his injury.
Yeah,
now, 2001 was another crucial year for WWF because not only was it the year the Monday Night Wars ended, with WWF coming out the victor, it would also be the year the boom period ended, in large part because Stone Cold turned heel at WrestleMania 17.
Yeah.
Even if he was a heel now, though, the Rattlesnake remained the best thing about the Red brand, and his weekly comedy antics with Kurt Angle and Vince McMahon were too good to hate completely. I'm sure it wasn't what fans at the time wanted to see, but to look back on it now, a lot of his work here holds up pretty well.
Excited.
Come 2000, however, Austin would be on the verge of walking out of WWF over frustration about his booking, and that would allow the spot of best Raw superstar to move over to someone else instead, someone who went by the name of Triple H. Yes, during the year where the first brand extension began and both Raw and SmackDown suddenly found themselves with separate rosters, it would be Triple H who took control of the Red brand. And the reason he was trusted in this spot was because, after making a big return from injury in January, he'd gone on to win both the Undisputed title at WrestleMania 18 and then later become the first ever World Heavyweight Champion as well.
Because she'd be wearing that jean jacket. I'm like,
there
that
could be
Triple
no
H
other choice
jean
for
jacket.
this spot, as back in 2002, the Gang was
old,
still on top of the
Ric Flair,
world.
still move,
And he'd
Rick.
still be on top of the world by the time 2003 came around as it happened, because that year he'd once again be riding high as the undisputed top wrestler of the Raw brand, something he proved by continuing to hold that gold around his waist. That said, by
I do gotta
2003,
especially mention DX because they was DX was running the world for a little bit because we gonna be real.
Especially in the early 90s.
That's why I was like, I know he probably don't want to do duels, but when DX came out, they talking about Suck It. Boy, that was everywhere, boy. They merchandise was blowing up, the music. That was crazy.
They had a remix with Run DMC and shit.
Yeah, nah, that's crazy. So yeah, I I understand what they saying, like him by himself. But man, when he was with DX, boy, that'd been crazy if one of them had the belt. I'm talking about the heavyweight belt, the WWE belt, and if one of the let's say Shawn had the WWE belt, because I'll say Shawn was the bigger draw at the time. Like solo wise, I'll say Shawn, was the bigger draw at the time. And then he had the Intercontinental belt, that would have been crazy. They could have did a little faction with this. DX was that ish, boy. I'm telling you, we was getting suspended, boy, and in trouble and detention, all that. I thought a lot of us was, boy.
Some fans would be starting to turn on Paul Levesque,
the original
as by now he'd very much
shirt.
entered his Reign of Terror era, the period where he had a complete stranglehold over the top prize on Monday nights and was using his political power to bury just about anyone he came up against. Even if this was the case, though, there was still no bigger name on Raw back then,
put Batista
at least
in there.
not
They
on a
said, Ted,
full-time
you gotta
basis.
go.
So he has to be considered to be the top act on the show from this 12-month period. Would the
Bill
same thing be
Goldberg.
said for 2004, however? Well, no.
Young
because by the
Batista.
time 2004 came around, a new generation of superstars would be rising to the forefront who were hungry to take over. One led during this year by our next subject, Randy Orton. That's right.
Orton.
After spending some time as the
thought that was
rookie
gonna be Chris
up-and-comer of
Masters. That
Evolution,
sounds like
it would
my
be in
face- my
2004
face
that
is
Randy
like-
Orton fully
Chris
broke out
Masters
of the
was
pack
like
to become,
2010.
for
That's
a
what I
was gonna
while
say.
at least,
What's
the
happening?
best wrestler on Raw. But then to be fair,
Nah,
it
I
was
was
hard
a
for
Randy
him
Orton fan
not to
when he was a
claim this
rookie.
spot here, as this was when he'd beat Chris Benoit at SummerSlam in August to become the youngest world champion in WWE's history. Sure, he would drop the belt soon thereafter, but nothing could take away this
I knew that
achievement
was
from the
coming
Viper
soon.
going forward. That said, this
Sean
wouldn't be
Benjamin,
enough
I
to
see
keep
you,
him
brother.
being the
They
top
don't-
Raw
I
name
see
in
you.
He
2005
should
as
have been a
well,
world
as that
champion.
year would
The
be
gold
all about our
standard.
next subject instead. Another man who first rose to prominence
Dave
as part
Batista.
of Evolution and who would soon
Yeah.
reach single stardom himself,
Nah, that nigga
Batista.
had a-
Sure, Randy
a
Orton might have
run
originally
for
been the
real.
one
He
WWE
finally
saw as
left
being the big
Evolution.
breakout star of Evolution, but come early 2005, it was clear that Dave Batista was going to fill this role instead.
You knew that,
And that's
though.
because
Look at
in the
this
lead up to
nigga.
WrestleMania
Vince probably
21, he
said
got
Vince was
hugely over as a
busting
result of his simmering
uncontrollably
feud
when he
with
seen Dave
Triple H.
Batista.
Honestly, this was
Batista walked by me, said,
"Who was that?" That guy got it. You know how he be talking.
Just out of nowhere, didn't see this man wrestle, didn't see him
wrestle. When he was Deacon Batista,
he got it. Who that?
We gonna make him be a manager first.
Told him to grow his hair out. Because he was bald.
You gonna make him be a deacon with Devon first.
See if he can go.
See how they do. Because, you know, Devon, a company guy, so.
He definitely is. There's one company guy, Devon. That man saw.
He said, you know what?
That nigga was. I could just see Vincent the Skybox just rubbing his hands together like he Birdman, looking at people.
We need one more member for Evolution. They kicked that nigga out. I know.
They shot a vignette with my mans and kicked him out.
And shot a vignette with Batista, and it said it looked better with Batista, so they went with Batista. And plus, they said that nigga was being annoying.
Yeah, I was like, damn, nigga was asking questions. He's trying to get put on.
Right.
He's trying to, I'm trying to get put on. So.
Vince had that shit in his mind since he seen Batista. He was gonna make that nigga a world champion.
That was crazy.
Like I said, you know how he get a hard on for buff men,
big and meaty men, as they put it.
As Big E.
That's why Big E keeps saying it.
Yeah, so we knew what it was.
Possibly the best storyline of the entire Ruthless Aggression
at least
era.
6 foot at least.
And it fully solidified Big Dave as the ace of the Red brand for a while. But even then, someone would be waiting to take the Animal's place when it came to Raw's top act once 2006 came
John
around.
Cena.
And if you were watching back then you'll know where we're going here, as this was the point that John Cena moved over to Monday nights. Now, for as big of a deal as Dave Batista had been back in 2005, come 2006, it was clear that Vince McMahon saw John Cena as being the new face of his company going forward. And that was exactly why during this year's draft, he'd moved Big Match John over to his flagship brand. Needless to say then, from there, Raw would become Mr. Hustle, Loyalty, and Respect's show as he defended the WWE title against anyone who wanted a shot at him. And it was this willingness to do whatever it took to prove to both his bosses and his fans that he was capable of being that guy.
Just the fact that they discovered this gimmick for him was insane, because they was like, he was rapping on the side of the bus, and they was like, he can rap. But no, that behooved me, because they said
that nigga rap album went platinum.
It was fire. I'm not gonna hold you. I liked it. Ain't gonna lie.
I did as a youth. I did enjoy that.
I did enjoy that.
I have not listened to it
I
since.
have not. But as a youth,
so I don't know if it stands up. But as a teen, nigga, I ain't fucked with that.
I did. But we not gonna hold them. They said they was always rapping in the back, and the one time John, he's like, I'll jump in. So I was like, y'all funny as hell. So we've been rapping this whole time back here. I'd have looked at them. It was Stephanie. Stephanie said she came up with it. Like, oh, you should be your gimmicks be hip hop. You mean like R-Truth's gimmick? That's how I'd have looked at you. Like R-Truth's gimmick, his gimmick. Alright. So he the Eminem. Right. Everybody rapping back here, you heard him rap, was like, oh, it's the Holy Grail. Fuck you.
That led to John Cena continuing to be the ace as 2007 came around and Raw only further fell into the Big Match John era. Of course, it could never be any other way though, because even if some fans were audibly starting to turn on Big Match John here, he remained the clear face of the company.
Yeah.
Hell, if nothing else, the kids still loved him and everything he did. And that was why, no matter who he came up against this year, be it Umaga, Shawn Michaels, Randy Orton, or anyone else, Monday Night Raw would very much be the John Cena show.
But
for as dominating as he was here, there would be someone else who proved to be even more dominating in 2008 as far as Raw was concerned. Who would that be? Why, our next subject, of course, the 9-time world champion that is Chris Jericho. What made Chris Jericho the best act on Monday Night Raw during 2008 when he hadn't been able to achieve this goal during the years prior? Well, this was when he shifted up his character in a major way by cutting his hair, speaking more softly during promos, and wearing a suit and tie whenever he came down to the ring. And like that then, Y2J was completely reinvented, with his legendary feud against Shawn Michaels during this spell being a particularly great example of what made him so compelling. Really, there's an argument to be made that this year represents the peak of the Demo God's entire career, so well did he do here. And while he wouldn't still be the top Raw act in 2009, as by that point he'd moved over to SmackDown and gone on to arguably even greater success there, it would still be a heel in this role, as 2009 would once again see Randy Orton return return to the top of the field on Monday nights. Yes, this was when the Viper arguably reached his apex as a performer, because it was the point he decided to go peak villain by punting everyone he could get within reach of, including the McMahon family themselves. And that led to the excellent Age of Orton storyline as, headed into WrestleMania 25, he'd be lording the fact that he was WWE champion over his chief rival, Triple H. Honestly, there's no other reasonable choice for the best Raw wrestler of this year because, as the decade was coming to a close, Orton was on such another level to everyone else, it wasn't even a close competition anymore. Of course, this still didn't make him the guy. No, the guy would continue to do his thing elsewhere on the show. And in 2010, he'd be doing this to a level which once more made him the best wrestler on Raw, just as he had been multiple times over in the past. Who are we talking about here? Why, John Cena, of course. Yeah. Now, 2010 was a rough year for WWE overall because with the PG era now being in full effect and creative hitting one of its biggest lulls yet.
I know we keep pausing this shit, but I'd have had to put them too, because that's when them niggas was feuding heavy. So you it was like a toss-up.
No, you're right.
But they got to give it to Cena.
There was a sense that the company was in bad need of a shakeup in order to get fans interested again. And this was something they attempted to do here with the Nexus. That said,
they should not have buried this. They had this nigga be the whole fucking
so it was
faction.
That John Cena would rise to the occasion.
It was like 15 niggas in Nexus.
The whole faction.
They put him in Nexus for a little bit and fed the whole Nexus. So they halted Wade Barrett momentum because of this shit. And that nigga was up. He dead ass would have been up
villain up there, but y'all did this to him, and it was.
I don't even think they gave him that nigga his title shot he was supposed to for winning the NXT. That was when NXT was a competition. He won that shit. That's why those niggas was called Nexus because of NXT.
Yeah, you're right. Take Nexus.
They had them destroy Raw on their debut and then fed them niggas to
Daniel Bryan got fired because of that.
That's when
he did the most.
He did do the most. That's when Super Cena became a thing. That shit is crazy.
For much of the year, he'd be the one standing in opposition to the group of rookie invaders. How would he do against these invaders? Well, to the joy of all the kids watching, by the time it was over, Big Match John would be standing tall as he always did, with this only reinforcing the idea that he was the ace of not just the Raw brand, but of the entire WWE. USA. Sure, this wouldn't be enough to get most fans excited again, but that moment would come soon thereafter, as it would be in 2011 that a new top name on Raw presented themselves as someone who could take that mantle in the form of our next subject, CM Punk. Really, if 2011 belonged to anybody in WWE, then it was CM Punk, as despite having a rough first couple of months trying to keep the new Nexus afloat, he really broke out of the pack in the lead-up to Money in the Bank. How did he do this? Well, it was here that Phil Brooks cut his now iconic pipe bomb promo live on an episode of Raw, and in the process, immediately became the most talked about high in the industry. Sure, the summer of Punk, which followed on from there, would eventually be botched, but none of this can ever take away from how effective it was during those early weeks and how much it reinvigorated the Red brand. So much would CM Punk become the guy fans wanted to see here. In fact, by the time 2012 came around, it would still be him in the position of Raw's best wrestler, as there was quite frankly no one else who could compete with him for this spot. Of course, it didn't help that throughout the entirety of 2012, CM Punk had the WWE title around his waist, as this was right in the midst of his 434-day-long run with the Gold. So as you would expect, each and every Monday night, he was one of the major players on the show. It doesn't matter who his rival at any given time was, be it Daniel Bryan, Ryback, John Cena, or anyone else. Once all was said and done, the Second City Saint would always manage to stay on top, even after he turned heel and aligned himself with Paul Heyman. As we all know now, though, 2013 would see Punk exit WWE under a wave of bitterness and lawsuits. And with him gone then, it meant that it was time for another former Ring of Honor star to take his place, someone who then went by the name of a man we mentioned only a moment ago, Daniel Bryan. Really, this was about as much of a lock as you could get in terms of choices, because 2013 was the climax of the Yes movement. So for that reason, it was the year that all 100%. Fans wanted to do was hijack shows and let WWE know they wanted to see the American Dragon on top. Thankfully then, Bryan would get this moment at WrestleMania 30 in one of the biggest feel-good moments in wrestling history. And even if things fell apart quickly after this on account of injuries, it still made him the guy on Raw as far as we're concerned. That said, it wouldn't make him the guy on Raw for 2014, as with injuries still dogging him by this point, another former indie name would have to take his place. Luckily then, this person was right there in the form of Seth Rollins. Sure, Seth Rollins had already made a name for himself on the Red brand prior to this as a member of the Shield, but 2014 was the year he was able to break out into the singles division when he turned on his brothers Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. And this would prove to be a great decision for him in the long run because now, with the power of the Authority behind him, Seth became the top heel on Raw and the man who usually got the most airtime of anyone as a result of this. Still though, this wouldn't be the Architect's peak. No, his peak would arguably come in 2015 as still the top heel act in the company, he'd take this to another level again, and in the process, once more, be the top performer on Raw. How did Seth level up here after the great year he had in 2014? Well, at WrestleMania 31, he'd cash in his Money in the Bank contract in the middle of the main event in order to commit the heist of the century and walk out the new WWE champion. So obviously then this only further solidified his spot as Raw's #1 guy, because now that he had the gold around his waist, there was no one who could even pretend to be on the Architect's level, with this remaining the case all the way up until injury temporarily took him out of the game in November. And because of this injury, it meant that in 2016 someone else would have to rise to the top of the pile on the Raw brand. And as it happened, that person would be a new addition to the main roster in the form of our next subject, Kevin Owens. Seriously, what an impact Kevin Owens made on the Raw brand in 2016. After all, this was when he won the Universal title for the first and only time, and while he was defending that belt, he was involved in one of the best WWE angles of the era when he formed a bromance with Chris Jericho. A bromance so strong it saw both men get cheered by fans regularly, despite being heels. Because of these two things alone then, he's the only choice we have for Best Raw Act of 2016. Unfortunately though, this isn't enough to make him the Best Raw Act of 2017 as well. No, that honor instead goes to our next subject, Braun Strowman. But then, considering this was the year Braun was arguably at his most over, it shouldn't be too much of a surprise that he'd be in this spot here. Yes, it was in 2017 that the Monster of Men felt like he reached his peak as a performer when he got hugely over as an 80s-style cartoon babyface, one known for doing things like flipping trucks on a moment's notice.
When he ran into Roman Reigns full speed, I was like, that's one of the times I did. My mom was like, he real to hit that nigga for real with his shoulder. That man Roman Reigns bounced down the thing. I know that hurt.
Rolled down that motherfucker.
I know it hurt. I know he was like, damn.
Oh, that year Roman was getting his ass.
He threw that like you said. That shit was crazy.
That shit came out of nowhere. Roman was finna pick up speed. All you see is a fucking chair. It wasn't the folding chair, nigga. It was the chair that the announcers be sitting at.
Yeah. Some big office chairs. I'm like, this man wildin'. He just was. I can't even remember what happened that he focused on Roman. I can't even remember.
They was feuding over the belt. I don't know why, but they were just feuding, and that nigga. That's when he kept yelling that shit. I'm not finished with you yet.
He kept coming back. I was crying because he kept coming back.
Really, this was the point he probably should have won a world title, as his character never felt more relevant. As 2018 came around, however, some of that relevance would fade. But at least there would be other people there ready to take up the big man's mantle as the best act on Monday nights, with the person who did this the most here being our next subject, Seth Rollins. No, 2018 wasn't a year in which Seth Rollins held any world titles, but it was a year where he re-established himself as the workhorse of the Raw brand by catching fire with fans again following an excellent performance in a lengthy gauntlet match. And once this happened, it was all momentum for the Davenport native, as by the time the year was over, he'd have undergone a pretty good Intercontinental title run, one which was able to bring a little glimmer of that old prestige back to the belt. That's right, if you wanted to see a great match in WWE in 2018, then Seth Rollins was your man. But if you wanted to see a true breakout star on Monday nights in 2019, then you'd have to look to the man instead. Seth's wife, Becky Lynch. Yes, well, Becky Lynch first became a megastar the year prior when her The Man character was developed and turned her into a PG-era Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was
damn! It was the female Goldberg, Nia Jax.
Don't do that. That's one person.
That's Selena Vega.
That didn't even happen.
Sasha Banks, Charlotte.
She ain't never heard Charlotte.
She did definitely hurt her.
She ain't never heard Charlotte.
Okay.
That's
Alexa Bliss.
Alexa Bliss get hurt. That's it.
I got more.
2019 fully reached her peak, as that was the year she became the first woman to score a win in the main event of WrestleMania. And once that was over, it was the Raw brand full-time for the Irish woman, as with her now holding this show's top women's prize, she had to be there week in and week out defending it and carrying the show in the process. Of course, when 2020 came around though, Becky would be gone for a while as a result of her pregnancy. And that meant the role of carrying Raw instead moved over to our next subject, Drew McIntyre. Now 2020 was a particularly
during the pandemic, it was Drew, Sasha, Bayley, Asuka. Like, the list could go on for how many people that was holding that shit down. Like, you could have picked from any one of them. But I'm not mad at Drew, though.
Drew, that dude.
For everyone.
Underrated.
But specifically in wrestling, it was difficult for those watching, as no fans were allowed in attendance at shows.
I remember I was one of them
needing someone who could bring some life to Monday nights while it was being held in front of empty arenas, then Vince McMahon decided to go with Drew McIntyre as his guy. And this proved to be a great move because, spending most of the year as WWE champion, Drew was able to be something of a light in the darkness. But while he might have hoped to be still holding that prize once fans returned, in the end, he'd be usurped by this point by the man who ended up being the best Raw act of 2021, Bobby Lashley. Sure, Bobby Lashley might have first gotten his start in WWE during the mid-2000s, but it wasn't until 2021 that he reached his full potential, as this was when he won the WWE title. And once he had that belt around his waist, he'd completely dominate the competition on Monday nights, usually with a little help from MVP by his side. Really, there's an argument to be made that this represented the peak of the big man's entire career, as after all that time, it felt like he was finally being used right. But for as great as Lashley was in 2021, even he'd fall short of being the best Raw act of 2022. Why is that? Well, because when 2022 came around, the best Raw act was once again Seth Rollins. What made Seth Rollins stand out from the pack in 2022? Well, like with prior years where he was the ace of the brand, this was a year in which he excelled in the ring, with him often having the best matches of any given week whenever he was tasked with placing
the used to be laughing.
They turned him into the Joker,
Seth, who was tasked with reintroducing Cody Rhodes to the company here, as the pair carried Raw for a few months with their excellent trilogy of matches. Hell, that's not even getting into the Drip God's US title reign, another major feather in his cap. But by 2023, things would have changed again, and following a period out of the ring as a result of injury, Cody Rhodes would return to take the spot of Raw's best from his rival. Yes, there quite simply is no second choice when it comes to 2023 Raw, as Cody was so clearly the guy here. Come on now, with the company's hot streak picking up steam, and with the American Nightmare being a major catalyst for that revival and fan interest, it was clear that he had to be the one who was given most of the focus. No, he wouldn't win the world title yet. That wouldn't come until next year.
Look like
but what Rhodes would do here would be to serve as the biggest babyface WWE had seen since the peak days of John Cena.
Of course, once he won the WWE title in 2024, he's better as a heel. Face Cody gets stale fast.
Gets stale, it's bland. In the early 80s.
Especially the Homelander shit. I just need this nigga.
Homelander shit.
Like, is that not what he dressed like, though?
They do look like Homelander from time to time. Especially with that big old cape sometimes.
That's his gear, that Homelander gear. So, I need heel Bullet Club Cody.
Yeah, sometimes he look crazy and unstable even when he face.
Yeah, I need heel Bullet Club
The blonde hair does not help you, brother. I'm not going to hold you.
See, when he first debuted the blonde hair, he was heel. In Ring of Honor.
He was.
So SmackDown became his new full-time home. Yeah. And that meant the baton for Best Wrestler on Monday nights would instead pass over to an arguably even more dominating force, the mighty Gunther. Now, even the most optimistic of Walter fans had their doubts that the Austrian would be treated right once he reached the WWE main roster, as back then, the assumption would have been that he'd be getting booked by Vince McMahon. But once Triple H took control of the pencil in 2022, everything changed. And this meant that come 2024, the man now known as Gunther was the final boss of Monday nights in many ways, as he kept a stranglehold over the World Heavyweight title for large parts of the year. Seriously, no one could truly step up to the Ring General here. And that made him a figure to be reckoned with. But as 2025 dawned, he'd be pushed to the side again in favor of another career revival from an old hand at this by now. Who are we talking about this time? Who else but Seth Rollins? That's right, once again it would be Seth Rollins who rose to the occasion in 2025, as whether it be him winning the World Heavyweight title, forming a new stable around him called The Vision, or just generally being a thorn in CM Punk's side, he's pretty much always been the focus of Raw each week. And that's been a great thing for the brand, as like with years prior, his matches continue to be amongst the best in WWE. Sure, he might be out with injury right now, but even if this is the case, he's already done more than enough to be the star attraction of Monday nights during this 12-month period. Will he still be that star attraction once 2026 comes around? We guess we'll just have to wait and see. Whoever takes the spot, they'll earn themselves a place in the history books regardless. And the reason for that is because, with Raw still being the flagship of WWE after all these years, being the best wrestler on that show at any point remains quite an achievement to accrue, and not one which can ever be taken away.
Like I said, Jay deserved a spot on one of those. I'm not gonna hold you. He earned it.
Facts.
He earned it.
A lot of people didn't like his movement, but that wasn't his fault though.
They was complaining about his conditioning.
I get it, but it's like y'all could have wrote him to be a better champion though.
That too. Some people can shine with when you give them garbage writing, and they just can shine with it. Some people can't.
And I don't think his shit was bad though. It just, I feel like they didn't give it the proper push that it needed. Because as a face, you got hella heels that you could pair him with. And I think this is about the best years in a long time for heels.
100%. It's the best time. Like, I know him and his brother did have that match at WrestleMania before, but Jay could have been a heel. I mean, Jimmy. Jimmy could have been a better heel if he could stay healthy, because he does get injured. And is it Jimmy that get the DUIs? Okay, if he could have been.
The last one was Jay.
Okay, both of them get him. Damn it.
I could have went down a list of heels y'all could have used to.
That's a whole bunch of heels.
If you wanted to go, you could have went Logan Paul, because they had a little feud. Mm-hmm. You could have went with his brother Solo. Mm-hmm. You could have went Seth.
Mm-hmm. Could have went Roman.
Could have went Roman.
I beat you before. I could just do it again and take the belt. Could have went back. I guess. No, I'm just saying.
Gunther again, even though they did.
They did like 2, right? 2 runs with Gunther. Yeah.
If you want to go bring somebody from like SmackDown, you could have did Shinsuke. Granted, Shinsuke can't really talk that good on the mic, but it don't matter. To be honest,
I would have paired up Paul Heyman with Shinsuke once they made him heel, because he need a talk BC dude who's gonna be real about it. He needs somebody talking to him. He ain't got the grasp on the English language. He can understand it. He just can't talk fluently enough to be on the mic. So I'd have gave him like.
You could have turned Randy if you wanted to. You could have turned CM Punk.
Another evil Randy, he just terrorizing Jay. That would have been crazy.
You could have went CM Punk, but y'all know y'all need faces as well.
You're not even the most talented Samoan here. I was more afraid of your cousin than you. Yeah, it's a lot of ways they could have went. They fumbled it just like they fumbled.
You could have left Drew over here. It could have been Drew.
Yep.
Hell, KO if he didn't get hurt.
That would have been a fire match. KO be putting on. People be sleeping on KO. KO be putting on matches.
Right. Hell, if you wanted to do a call up from NXT, you could have did
Sammy.
Oh, I forgot about Sammy. You could have. They was teasing that heel turn with Sammy anyway. Mm-hmm. Definitely. If I would, I feel like they would have turned Sammy. That would have been a banger feud.
Mm-hmm. If they had turned him and he was really on that heel stuff, like, I'm just better than you. I deserve it more than you.
You didn't even like me when they brought me into the bloodline. Y'all could have just went off that.
Facts. And so I got close to you, and I waited. Because you was the next step, and I waited until you got that. Now I want it. I know you inside and out. You can't beat me. You know, you could have played at that angle.
Yeah.
Easily. I know every single thing about you. I know you're scared, what you're scared of. I know what moves you can't do. I know what moves you can do. there's nothing you can do that's gonna surprise me. I'm prepared for all of it. Yeah, that would have been hard. That would have been hard. If y'all had let them make it to WrestleMania, that would have been hard. Because, y'all, we got another attraction at WrestleMania. I hated when they used to do that, boy. They set that whole Jericho KO thing up for WrestleMania. I mean, they still had a match at WrestleMania, but it could have been the main. Goldberg's back. Brother.
That KO and Jericho feud should have main event. It was supposed to main event.
Yeah, but he came back.
Yeah, it should have main event.
I was like, bro, we gonna keep it a bean. A 30-second match at WrestleMania, cuz that's main event now. Times have changed. That's main event now.
But that was always Vince's problem.
Yeah,
spectacles. Yeah.
I don't want them to be wrestlers.
They're supposed to be a spectacle.
They're not wrestlers. They're superstars. Yeah, you're not a wrestler. You made wrestling a dirty word, which you did. You're not wrestlers. You're superstars. We all know what this is. You act like the audience needs to disbelieve. No, we don't, because we don't do that no more because we're adults now. Kids now don't even do that. We all know. We all see behind the scenes, brother. It's okay. There was a movie when I forgot what it was called, but there was a movie when we was younger that you could see behind the scenes. I forgot, it was called Behind the Ring or something like that, Beyond the Ring or something. I can't remember what it was called. But I remember watching it and they was going over lines in the back and stuff like that. And that's when we was kids. So, bro, we're all right. We understand what kayfabe is, but let's not front like they need to believe it's real. They need to disbelief them. You need to believe it's real, which I agree with that. You need to believe it's real. We can sell it, but you're not going to convince us it's real, especially when we know it's not real, brother. We keep convincing us that's some good acting. Like, that's how we look at it now. Like, we going to keep it a bean. This ain't the 80s, brother. That's how we look at wrestling now. I believe that. That was some good lineage. I like that. That's it. That's how we examine wrestling now, brother. That's how people examine wrestling. I didn't believe that. You probably shouldn't have said that. You could have said something else. That's how we look at wrestling now. It just is what it is. You can't go back, brother. Sorry, you just can't go back. Santa Claus ain't real, brother. It's okay. Guess what? We still celebrate Christmas. We still wrap up the presents and know exactly what we're getting. And we still do that.
Yeah, that's true.
You feel me? I wonder what this big-ass PS4 looking box is. Is it the PS4 I asked for Christmas? Damn, it's some clothes. I've been had. Hey, my mom did that to me one year. She put clothes in a big old box. I was like, what is this? It was clothes in that bitch. I said, oh, you motherfuckers. You're funny. I'll never forget that. That had me crying. That had me crying of laughter. And there was some games at the bottom. She's like, I got your ass. I was like, you sure did. I was looking sad, like, damn, there's hella clothes in here. Got to the bottom. Oh, the games is in here. Bet. But anyway, man, let us know if you agree. We agree for the most part. It's just one or two that I might disagree with. You know what I'm saying? Jeff Hardy, there was a year of Jeff Hardy, I believe, had in there. I believe The Rock might deserve 2 years, maybe.
Jeff was more SmackDown.
Oh, you're right. Jeff was definitely more SmackDown. So you 1,000% right on there. But yes, yeah, you're right. But yeah, there's a time. I mean, just watch the video. You'll see. Maybe Randy deserved one more year. Evil Randy was there for a minute and he was just terrorizing people. He was doing the wildest stuff. That was my boy. But anyway, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know we post, because we post 2 to 3 videos every day, sometimes even 4. And you can check us out right here at MBU Reacts at 12 p.m., 4 p.m., 8 p.m. Central Time. You can always come back and check out the playlist with over 2K videos. I promise you, you'll find something you like. But anyway, this is Tree. I'm Green. This is MBU Reacts, and we'll be back with more reactions. We'll holler at y'all later, man. Peace.